Hi team, welcome back to the channel. I'm Dave and I'm going to be your boxing coach. In today's tutorial, we are going to look at 4 huge mistakes I see boxers make when it comes to their footwork. Make sure you stay around for mistake number 4, because not only is it going to cause you problems when it comes to punching, it could actually in fact get you stopped. So let's jump in. Okay, so as we know, footwork is key. It's key to stay in balance so we can move into range, we can get our punches away, we can move out of range, and we can defend. So our feet need to be in the right position so we can do that. Mistake number 1 I see, and I'll be honest, this is more with novice boxers. Other mistakes we go on to, yes, more experienced boxers make these, but this one is generally for your novice boxer. So what we see is we see them crossing their feet. So going forwards and backwards, they're able to get their shots away. Then they're put under a little bit of pressure. And it's normally when we see pressure, when we see stress increase, that's when these mistakes are more obvious. So crossing feet, it's a big no-no. So what we might see is as their opponent comes forwards, a boxer may move back. Now they may have the boxing IQ to realise they can't keep going back in a straight line. Good thing. However, left and right, maybe they're friends, depending on where they are in the ring, will dictate which way they need to go. How they get there is where we come unstuck. If I want to go to my right and I go back, and firstly, if I'm not comfortable, stress is too much, I might end up doing this as I move across to my right. Straight away, as soon as left foot steps over right foot and my hips are almost still facing opponent, I'm in trouble. I'm not in a position where I can punch because I have no balance. If I can defend, I'm not in a position where I'll be balanced again. So I might catch a shot here, but it's going to knock me backwards. I might try and slip a shot, but my weight distribution is all wrong. So it's left me in a very vulnerable position. Likewise, if you want to move left, under stress, you might step back. That might be the way you want to go. We see this. The back foot then moves behind. Exactly the same. We can't defend, or we can't defend balance. We can't throw. We can't slip. We can't roll. We can't do anything. We're in a poor position. Now these poor positions, here and here, are what I would call go points for your opponent. So as soon as I'm in this position, my opponent's probably going to step the attack up. Which means it works the same for you. If you can correct your feet, so when we do move right, we move the right foot first. When we do move left, we move that left foot first. This means that you're balanced and you're in a good position. Now, if you put the pressure on your opponent and suddenly you notice that their feet are crossing when they're moving left and right under pressure, you now have a go point. A go point means that's the time you put your punches together. So what you now can do is you can force them to make that mistake. Pressure them back, and as soon as they go left and right and cross the feet, you've managed the distance. Now we can step on them and put your punches together, knowing they can't punch back and they can't defend effectively. So, mistake number 1 for you to correct if you're doing it is let's not cross those feet. But also, check out to see if your opponent is making that mistake. Okay, mistake number 2. Hey team, I'm just going to jump in really quickly to let you know about my Fight IQ website. It's a website that currently has 4 tutorials on. Let me take you through them. Tutorial number 1 is our Punch Perfect program. It will help teach you the fundamentals of boxing. Program number 2 is our Padwork Academy program. If you're a current pad holder and want to get that little bit better at holding pads and learn some new combinations against different styles, check out our Padwork Academy program. Program number 3 is all about improving your footwork and your agility. So go check out our Step into Success Ladder Agility program. And finally, program number 4 is our Counter Strikes Back program. This will make you a master at counter-attacking. There are programs, the link is now up here or in the description box below. Okay, so this next mistake I see with boxers that are more comfortable in sparring and that may have had a few bouts, and it is a very common mistake that if any of my boxers make, I will call them out on it immediately. I reckon you're going to watch this and be like, I think I'm guilty of that. Now, I haven't got an actual name for this, but I have heard it called a rhythm step. So let me just demonstrate what that is. So you could be on the toes, nice and balanced, ready to go. You could then launch an attack, pop, and then what we see is the after part of that. We might step back, become comfortable, and then this lead foot catches up with the rear foot before we go back to our stance. Now, you might all think, no, I don't do that. Watch now in a bit more real time. Pop, pop. Now that might look a little bit more familiar to something that you do, and a lot of boxers do it. And it's not just after we finish punching. It might be on the toes, a few feints in there, pop, and then back again. So here, feint, boom, and lead foot catches up with rear foot. It is really common. It's probably more common than you realise. Maybe you don't even realise that you're doing it, but I can assure you a lot of boxers do it, which means we're creating another go point either for our opponent, or it gives us an opportunity to create that go point against our opponent. Remember, a go point to me is when a boxer shows poor footwork and isn't in a position to defend or punch. That's your go point. Are you doing it? Are you creating a go point against you, or is your opponent doing it? Are they creating a point where you could go? It's simple. Once we've finished our attack, we bring both feet back together. Or we finish our attack, we bring both feet across together. Or we hold the feet and we defend. So in between the attacks, we never switch off, which means we always keep a good base, good fundamentals. So we're always here, and we never allow our feet to close and definitely not meet one another. Mistake number 2, we shall call it the rhythm step. Be aware if you're doing it, also spot if your opponent's doing it. Let's have a look at mistake number 3. Now, here is another very, very common mistake that I see boxers of all levels making. It's called the pendulum step, or at least that's what I'm going to call it, the pendulum step. Again, you might not understand it, not recognise it. Have a watch, see if you do after this. Okay, pendulum step. Does that look familiar? Let's see it again. Okay, pendulum step. So already, after looking at the previous mistake, you can probably straight away see the first problem with that move. The first problem is I create a go point almost immediately by bringing my feet together. Here's my first go point. Like we just talked about, can't defend, can't punch. So if I'm pendulum stepping, there's my first problem. The second problem is literally straight after the second part of the move. As soon as this foot comes off the floor and spends that much amount of time off the floor, I'm not in a position to punch or defend. I can't defend here and I can't punch. So I'm actually bringing myself straight down into potentially an in-range position in front of my opponent, and I'm not even able to defend. I'm not even able to punch. So I'm stepping into range with no tools or defence. The pendulum step is, to me, not needed. My question is, if you're that far out of range, I don't think it's the footwork you need to be overly concerned about, it's your distance control. Because if I'm able to pendulum step safely, then I must be a million miles away from my opponent, which is not where I want to be. I always want to be right on the edge. If you are pendulum stepping, first question yourself, why am I so far away from my opponent? All right, once we've figured that out, then let's get that footwork mastered. We're balanced, we're on the toes, we're on the edge of range. We don't need to pendulum step. Get the pendulum step out of your footwork toolbox, because I don't see personally any need for it. So that was mistake number 3, the pendulum step. We've gone through 1, crossing your feet. 2, bringing your feet together. 3, the pendulum step. And I did promise you, mistake number 4 was going to be the biggest mistake so far. Let's have a look at what it is. The last 3 mistakes I've just talked about have all been after we finish punching, before we finish punching, or as a defence. This footwork mistake is going to be while you're punching. Let's have a look then. So here is what I see then is very, very common in most or a lot of boxers. They'll step into a 1-2. They'll be just on the edge of range and they'll step in and they'll go 1-2. Now, I don't know if you saw the mistake there. First, I stepped into range, lead foot, lead hand work together. It's left me in this position. Nothing wrong with that. Now, to throw my backhand, I'm going to have to take a little step with the right foot so I stay balanced. But we don't ever see that. What we see is this. We see a 1-2. Now, 90% of the weight is over the front foot. My body's over the front foot. Very little weight on my back foot. This puts the centre of balance over, or very close to the front foot now, which means I am not in a position to defend at all. Not only that, if I'm committed to those 2 shots, I'm now in range. I'm in range of my opponent with no defence. That's the first problem. So my opponent now, if they defend that right hand, they have now every single shot that they want in their arsenal to be able to counter-attack. They might even take a little step. Now I'm off balance. They've changed the angle. I'm in real problems now. If I want to bring in another punch, I'm going to struggle. So I've gone here, here. Now I want to shift the weight. I can't use my right side. It has to be a left-sided punch, a lead-sided punch. I'm going to have to come all the way back to bring the weight back to try and get a lead shot away. The time it takes to do that, too long. I'm going to be countered. I've got to come back up onto the centre line. I'm going to be countered. All I can hope for in that position is, and it's going to be clumsy, somehow can I pivot out here? Ugh, clumsy and slow, isn't it? Can I roll out? I can. Clumsy and slow. Overreaching with that backhand because the right foot hasn't caught up with the left foot is going to leave me in a seriously vulnerable position whilst in range of my opponent. We have got to get better at throwing the 1-2 where the back foot comes and steps into range. Because now look, pop, pop, I can bring that lead hand in any way I want. I can roll out, I can slip and pivot. It gives me every option, because my weight is pretty much down the centre. If I do not move my back foot when I throw my backhand, I'm going to leave myself in trouble. And as I've said all the way through, you can now correct it in your own boxing. You can now look for it in your opponent. That's it, team. They were my 4 footwork mistakes. Remember, go check out my Fight IQ website. Link is down in the comments box. Don't go anywhere. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Smash the thumbs up button if you got something from this video. And then go take a watch of one of these 2 videos. I'll see you there.